Alright, now from the database perspective, we have everything in order to establish the relationship between courses and lessons, so that we can show proper lessons in this list that are actually related to the current course. Because currently, as you can see, we are fetching first 20 records from the lessons table and show all of them in that list. So let's start defining a relationship, and we are going to define a relationship between course and lesson models. And to do so, I'm going to switch over to course model, and in here, let's add the following method. That will be our relationship. I'm gonna call this relationship lessons. And the type of relationship that we need in this case is called hasMany, because one course can have many lessons. So let's use method hasMany to define this type of relationship. And here in the argument, we have to specify the name of the related model. In our case, the model is lesson. And all lessons will be bound to a particular course by using the value from the course ID column of the lessons table. In here, let's add one more lesson that will be related to the course with an ID of 1. And I'm also going to introduce you to a useful tool called Tinker. This is so-called REPL, which means read, evaluate, print, loop. And it allows us to interact with our Laravel application by executing all kinds of expressions in here. So for example, if we need to fetch the course with an ID of 1, we can call method find on the course model and save the first course into the course variable, and we see the result right away. And now back to our relationship. So in order to fetch all the lessons that belong to the current course, I'm basically going to refer to our newly defined relationship called lessons. And just like that, we got the collection with all the lessons that are related to the current course. And please note that I didn't have to even call this relationship method, but instead I have used this relationship as a basic property. And Laravel is going to do all the magic behind the scenes and run a SQL query to fetch appropriate lessons. But if we're going to refer to our relationships lesson by using method call, in this case we're going to get special hasMany object that represents this type of relationship. And to fetch lessons by using this relationship object, we'll have to add get method call at the end to eventually execute this SQL query. And we are getting the same collection with related lessons. But of course, using property notation is much easier, and that's what we're going to do. So now let's open up course controller, navigate to method called show. This method is executed once the user will open up the page with a particular course. As you can see right here, we're passing the course model into the view. And then from this view, we can pass the amount of lessons that belong to this course down further into lessons component that is going to show all the lessons. So in here, we can basically declare another prop called lessons and pass all the lessons of this course. Right here, we're going to reference our relationship lessons, like so, to fetch all the lessons and pass it down into lessons component. And then within this component, all we have to do is to actually refer to this variable lessons in this loop. And there, where we show the amount of lessons in this course, we can also reference lessons variable and call method count to get the amount of lessons eventually. Let's also jump into Tinker and execute this expression to see how many lessons are related to this course. As you can see, we're getting 2. In this case, as you can see, I have used relationships method to get the relationship object and call method count on it. But we can also achieve the same result, but in a little bit different way. In this case, I'm going to firstly fetch all the lessons from the database by simply referencing this relationship as a property. And then based on the received collection of items, I'm going to call count and get the amount of lessons in this collection. And sure enough, the result will be the same. In the browser, we're still going to see that each course page is going to show a list of lessons, but now all those lessons are related to a particular course. Now let's go back to the course model and talk about how this relationship actually works. As you might have noticed, we didn't have to specify any column names with foreign key constraint to tell Laravel which column to use to establish this relationship, and that is because Laravel follows some standard naming conventions, and anytime we are referencing the relationship lessons on the course model, Laravel is determining the column name with foreign key by simply using current model name and appending underscore suffix to it. And that is how Laravel determines which column to use for the relationship. But of course, if we had to deviate from the standard naming conventions, there is also an option to manually specify column names that are used to bind records from different tables. So HasMany method also accepts the second argument, which should be the name of the column on the child table, and the child table in this relationship is lessons. And as a third argument, we're passing the column name on the parent table, which is courses table. So courses and lessons table are connected by using identifiers. We store course identifiers within ID column of the courses table, and that same identifiers are used to connect lessons to courses by using course ID column on the lessons table. And sure enough, we're going to get the same effect at the end. And please note that anytime we change code in our codebase, we have to relaunch Tinker, because Tinker launches with the current state of the codebase. So if you're using Tinker, don't forget to restart it after each time you modify your codebase. And there you go, as you're seeing, our relationship still works. And to exit Tinker, we can either press Ctrl+C or simply execute exit command, like so. But of course, since we're following standard naming conventions, we do not have to overwrite column names. I'm going to remove those from here. And that is it for this lesson. Link to the source code of this project, as always, will be in the video description.